Today we're located inside of a US-based manufacturer that has been designing and developing direct-to-garment printers for close to 20 years. In this facility, they not only design the printers, but they build it from the ground up. In this video, we're going to be showing you guys what it takes to create direct-to-garment printers and actually manufacture them in the US. And more importantly, we're going to be showing you guys what the future of e-commerce may look like. So if you guys are a new visitor to this channel, I highly encourage that you hit that subscribe button to be alerted of the latest video drops. On this channel, we help entrepreneurs build brands that impact the world from the ground up. Man, this is the very first time I get to see how a direct-to-garment printer is assembled. And like any piece of technology, everything in it is thoughtfully designed and created in order for it to ensure that it's going to function as an entire unit. Now, before we jump into the assembly process and how these things work, I feel it's important that we take a step back in order to see how this market came to be. Direct-to-garment printers are a huge talk of the town between brands and businesses, so let's find out where it all began in order to find out where this is going. Unlike screen printing, which has existed for thousands of years, direct-to-garment printers only became commercially available in the early 2000s. Over the past 5 years alone, this industry has experienced a dramatic adoption to this technology through the rise of online shopping and direct-to-consumer sales, one where the customer decides on what should get made. With a rise in demand for experiential shopping, stores such as Levi's are allowing you to customize the apparel you buy. Without adopting, they may meet the inevitable failure that has been seen by big box stores around the world. A DTG printer such as this one from OmniPrint allows you to print full color on almost any kind of garment. So in a real-world scenario, a customer would purchase a design online and the software would communicate with the printer. You would then insert your t-shirt and press start to print on top of it. So yes, DTG printers work a lot like the printers you have at home, but instead of printing on paper, it prints on fabric that you could resell. Now with any piece of equipment or technology, there is a learning curve, which could take days or weeks of testing to get down. But once you have it dialed in, you can begin automating your settings to the software provided by them. Now this is a fully functional end printer that is now operating smoothly, but before it does this, it begins with small components that are thoughtfully created in order to meet that design. Now, when it comes to product design, companies create a product based around objectives and goals that they have to meet. Now, what we're starting to learn is that a lot of these companies don't have your best interests in mind. They're creating a business off something that we're going to share very shortly that is cutting into profitability and simplicity, which is something that OmniPrint puts at the forefront of their mission and cause. So let's check out how they're doing this. So this right here is an almost completed printer. As you guys can see, the parts are almost looks like it's there. All the components are put together. The electronics to some of the circuit boards. Things are starting to take shape and it's starting to look more like a DTG printer than what it started as. So essentially what's happening here is this is the production process of a direct-to-garment printer. But it all begins with simple components that have to be manually assembled. So people are actually putting this together with their hands based on the schematics that they receive. And all of this right here are the components that go into a printer. So when we're talking about building a direct-to-garment printer from the ground up, it literally starts from the ground up. Right here is one of the boards that go on the side. It's heavy, it's actually pretty heavy. It's almost like a little tool too, like, it reminds me of like a hacksaw or something. It's pretty cool. These things are super heavy. You can hit somebody over the head with them and do a lot of damage, or you can make a DTG printer with it and do a lot of damage financially. But this is where it all begins. These baseboards. From there, they put some of these casters, which go on the bottom. They grab some other components, such as these things, and all of them are needed to create a printer. If we look right over here, this is some of the components coming together right now. These are some of the Wolverine sides that we just talked about. And somebody has to manually assemble this, taking screw by screw, piece by piece, until it starts to build a little bit further. Once the components start to get built a little bit more, you can see this is the actual drive belt that moves the head together. It's actually kind of cool. It's like It's like as if you're in the military, or somebody's about to spank you with this. This is a very multi-purpose tool that comes from OmniPrint printers. Don't get any ideas for those of you guys that want to take this apart and start doing something kinky with it. The next components are these rods. And these rods are where everything slides and glides and essentially functions. What's really cool to see about this stuff is that literally the intricacy and the design, everything has such, like somebody had to essentially cut this to specs. Somebody had to design it to specs in order for it to work at its best capacity. And that's what really makes this type of manufacturing, building a DTG printer in order to support print on demand. The level of detail that goes into it is what really stands out. As we move further down to production, you guys can see that now you have assembled some of the key components that you need to start building the head part of it. This is where the motherboard, the main board, comes into play, and it starts to really be hooked up. Over here, this is where they have a lot of their electrical components. So some of these wiring, some of the stuff we've been showing and discussing, like that's right over there. Similar to manufacturing anything, whether it's apparel or it's direct-to-garment printers, you gotta have a system in order for it to flow. And this system starts with all of the base material, raw materials, and as it's moving down the line, it starts to come together a little bit. And then by the time it comes over here, it's a little bit more put together. He's gonna merge some of these pieces here. And then the final piece, this is what it looks like before it gets closed up and official. Now, at this part of the process, essentially, they have already installed all of the electronics. They're just waiting for the print head to come here, some other cabling, and this is gonna be ready. But before it becomes ready, before it's finalized and closed up and gets the seal of approval, it has to go through a strict quality control process, which we're gonna show in a second here. But the quality control process is essentially making sure that the ink is gonna be able to get sent through the printer. But what's really interesting is, how do you make sure that the ink heads and all of the electronics are communicating on a brand new machine without using ink? All right, that's kind of interesting, because if they were to test with real ink, then that means that customers would get ink in the lines already. So it wouldn't look brand new by the time you came to your door. So that's what they do in the quality control process, is they use a special ink that allows them to print on a piece of paper that will show, hey, everything is sending out ink as it should be, the levels are correct, and this machine is approved, ready to be shipped to a customer. Victor, so do we also have to social distance the inks?
Pretty much, dude. Like this is what it takes to actually make some of the highest quality ink. So I want to introduce you guys to Edgar.
Edgar, what's up, man?
Hi, how are you?
What are you guys doing here? What are we working on today?
So here's where we make our Gamut Plus inks. I want to show you guys kind of some of the steps that it takes to actually make some of the highest quality ink in the industry. There's some stuff that you guys are going to see, you know, that really kind of shows you guys how we can actually take control of the quality of our products. The only way is by, number one, making sure that we're the ones developing it, improving it all the time, and then the quality and the manufacturing and the quality control process, right? Filtration is a big part of that. All right, John, so you're like the first one ever to come see some of this process.
It's pretty cool, man.
But remember, if the goal here is to build a community of entrepreneurs and creators that are dominating with our products, I want to make sure that people are educated and how things work, right? So that's why I want to make sure that you guys see how we're doing things and why we're the best, why we keep winning awards. And this is one of the first steps of doing it, right?
So today we're going to be formulating, we're actually going to be putting together a batch that'll go out to the streets.
Exactly.
Okay, cool.
We're putting in the batch. There's some stuff that are top secret that we can't show you guys, but we'll show you as much as possible.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. Let's do it. So do I start by getting in there first? Or?
Yeah, let's go. A lot of ingredients it takes to make the inks.
Yeah, it doesn't smell.
Yeah.
It doesn't smell at all. Yeah, it doesn't smell like chemicals.
Yeah, you can eat this one if you want.
You could eat it?
Yeah.
Really? What is it?
That is glycerin.
Glycerin.
It's kosher glycerin. So
It's kosher?
It's food grade.
Really? Can I have a little sample?
Yeah.
I don't want to ruin your
Wait, I
purity.
don't know if that one is glycerin. But it's food grade glycerin.
Okay. I don't know if that one is.
Yeah,
That
I
one
would
might
not
kill you.
recommend eating anything, guys.
Yeah.
Come on, John.
Don't do this at home. All jokes aside, the process of creating ink that is made for direct-to-garment printers begins by adding the raw materials in a certain order that is proprietary to this operation. The reason for this? Chemistry. The mix needs to be homogeneous in order for each batch to work as invented on a large scale. That's right. Don't you wish you paid attention to your chemistry class right about now? I know I had to Google what that one meant. Now, it is important to note that they are using food-grade pigments as they create these water-based inks, which means that they do not release any toxic fumes while being made. And it's the reason that we can be in the same room as they are making this. It is a lot cheaper to manufacture solvent inks, but Omniprint wants to stand behind the safety and quality of their products. When do we start mixing?
Right now, we need to start mixing the pigment.
The first batch? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And after that, we need to add
The next batch.
the next products.
Got it.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to see chemistry at work on a large scale. Before they make a big batch of ink, they have to test it on a small scale in order to understand how the inks will behave on fabric. Think back to your chemistry class again here. Once they have the right mix tested on a small level under different conditions, they then test on a large batch. Edgar told me it could take up to 1 year to create a new color. Can you imagine formulating something for 1 year before it is ready to be used by the public? There is a lot of trial and error involved in creating award-winning inks, and the reality is that competitors are also gunning for that #1 spot. So inventing new formulas of ink and having a strong mission, vision, and team is key. Once the ink is quality control tested again and again and again, it is finally bottled up and ready to be shipped to customers all over the world. So what exactly is the future of direct-to-garment printing and manufacturing? It's hard to say how the story will unfold, but what we do know is that e-commerce brands have created a high demand for made-to-order business models. And Omniprint is designing systems, software, inks, and printers to help people win in this industry. Let's speak to Victor to learn more about what's in store. So Victor, you have an amazing operation here. Remember 2 years ago, you guys were in a different facility, and now you guys have expanded your footprint. You have ink manufacturing here, printer manufacturing, you got shipping.
Yep.
What's the future of Omniprint, and what would you say is the future of direct-to-garment printing?
So I think that as we keep evolving the industry, it's really important to let people know how they can keep growing and how can they be more profitable when it comes to print on demand, right? So what happened right now? What happened is e-commerce and this pandemic accelerated what digital was gonna do.
Right.
So I feel that in 5 months, we did the amount of growth and acceptance to digital that maybe it would have taken 2 to 5 years.
Oh wow, that
Right?
fast. Oh.
And so what happens next is that, so how do we show people how to print faster, still have that quality, and more profitable, and how to make sure that any e-commerce connected store can feed the order properly to a digital printer and then feed it out through your shop, right, in a cohesive way.
Right.
That's super important because we've all been in a situation where you have too many orders,
Yeah.
you mess them up, you ship them to the wrong person, or your machines aren't fast enough, your cost per shirt's too high, so maybe you do all this work and you ended up like not making any money, right? So what's super important is, number one, educating people on how you're able to be more profitable, you know, and how you're able to use technology to grow that, right? So we want people to print more, make more money, print high quality, and really double down on their e-commerce presence.
So this is like the ideal commercial layout, you would say.
This layout is meant to do like high production digital. You have on that side is a pre-treatment side where pre-treatment's happening and it's entering this side and feeding into the printer area. And then when it comes out of the printer, I have the printer setups where I'm unloading the shirts here. I don't want to walk too much. You know, I kept up with the printer, but it's like it
Pretty
gets,
quick.
yeah, it gets at 30 seconds of print. I'm having to load, and plus you want it to be straight.
Right, yeah, you don't want to
So those are the kind of things that can help somebody as their e-commerce orders grow, that are personalized. The idea is stop having inventory that goes to waste, right? Sell it first,
Yep.
then print it, then ship it, because there are ways now to make sure it's cost effective,
Yeah,
right?
most definitely.
And you control your own quality.
So you guys are essentially operating your entire business out of this location, and you're
Yeah.
servicing customers from California.
Yep.
So tell us about what's happening in the back room that we're about to walk into.
So if you guys keep in mind a flow, right? So all of our raw materials and parts, they start over there. They come in from the docks, and the guys lay them out. So the printers start getting built on that side, right? As they come through here, you know, by the time they get to here, they're already built.
They're done.
And then here we're doing QC at the end, right? So the flow is super important because in a factory, in a shop, you don't want stuff going back and forth,
Yeah, just
right?
wasting
You
time
want
and
you want a
space.
line to go through, right? So if you guys walk in through here, this is where the fulfillment of the actual everything that people buy, the printers, comes from. All of the manufacturing comes in through these doors from the manufacturing side, and then it gets stacked up here, ready to sell. So you have, you know, this is about, this part is about 16,000 square feet, 25 feet high. Once you go down this way, you have kind of a staging area where we put the packages together for people, because some people need a few extra heat presses. Some people have a pre-treatment machine. Per order, the guys assemble what they have to ship for the day. Visualizing a flow, it's one straight line coming towards here and out the door.
You guys are based out of California. What is the impact of this location being open in the local, but also the global economy? Where do you guys sell?
I always like to make an impact, right?
Yep.
As a matter of fact, we just got like the Resiliency Award for the Orange County Chamber of Commerce for Irvine, right? Because during this whole shutdown, we switched some of the chemical lines. We made sanitizer. We switched some of the lasers, and we started making masks and, you know, giving them out and selling them in the community. So we like to make a huge impact out of here, right?
Now, you guys definitely make an impact to the customers and to the brands and businesses that are buying. But even as I walk around here, as we gave everybody the tour, I see that like a lot of industries and companies are, I don't want to say this in a bad way, but they're essentially like, there's one owner, primarily Caucasian, and then they have all the Mexicans working the back, right? like that's the reality of things in America. But you came up.
Yep.
You came from Jalisco, right?
Yep.
Jalisco, Mexico.
Yeah, so I was born
Here.
in Mexico. We came here when I was 8, like 7 or 8.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You came here and built this and employed a bunch of people.
Yeah, there's ways that you can do it. You just gotta like apply yourself and actually do the work, right? I didn't know English, right? So I had to learn English, you know, go through all that stuff. You know, I used to work construction, right, to pay for college and pay for education. So you gotta value some of the work. You gotta be like, all right, well, you can either like do construction, or you can go to school and learn something,
Right.
and then you could build a business, and then like put value out there in the marketplace, and then you'll be able to like make a big business and make an impact.
You guys impact not only customers, but their families, the families of people working here. Like, you guys are amazing for that, being able to be Hispanic owned, or, you know, you started it, came here, make a freaking huge impact, making all these printers and helping other businesses do the same. And that's the reason that we like to highlight this kind of stuff. That guy is a professional. In the true from the ground up spirit, we're gonna get this printer ready to ship to somebody that's gonna be watching. And maybe I'll put a little letter in there that says thank you from OmniPrint. As you guys can see, this setup and this industrial equipment, from the manufacturing to the designing to the shipping to the supplies to the inks, there's a lot involved with direct-to-garment printing and even supplying direct-to-garment printers for a community of entrepreneurs. Now, OmniPrint is focused on ensuring that their customers can be profitable Not the same can be said for a lot of other direct-to-garment printers that are focused on this fact that they need to sell more ink in order to increase the profits for the company. So there is a big difference between the businesses that you decide to do business with. Are they looking out for your best interests? At the end of the day, you need to be able to do the math and you need to have to do the research in order to make that decision for yourself. Now, I appreciate you guys all for watching this episode of From the Ground Up. This is episode number 3. So if you haven't checked out the earlier episodes, we're gonna be linking it in a playlist right up above. And definitely make sure to consider downloading your free resources and materials that we have available for this channel. On this channel, we help entrepreneurs build brands that impact the world from the ground up. See you guys on the next one.